Hey folks, it's James. I'm going to do a real quick review of Superior Fencing's new heavy tournament jacket. This is going to be a really basic interview. It's basically what I like about the jacket, things that I don't particularly like about the jacket, who I think this jacket is really tailored for, and other things like that. So without ado, here we go. So I'm primarily a saber fencer. I do 1595 club stuff. I also do some other saber stuff. I do some like Wu style Tai Chi, which we do combative and occasionally use steel weapons in sparring bouts. But yeah, I don't do a lot of longsword. I really don't do any longsword. It's been years since I've done longsword. So I'm looking at this primarily through the lens of, well, congrats. You have a heavy tournament jacket. You want to use it for saber fencing or single hand sword fencing. So that's the kind of lens that I'm using on this. For a really long time, long time, I say about 2 years, I was using an Absolute Force coach's jacket, 350 yen rating, with one of their ProFlex vests that had all of the plastic plates on the chest. I'm a fairly large guy. I have lots of padding, but that has the offset of making bruising from thrusts not so great. I would sometimes, if I take a stiff thrust, walk away with pretty big bruises. I just didn't like that, and so I was wearing a ProFlex vest for that for a while. Eventually, I just kind of got to the point, and by eventually I mean like 3 or 4 months ago, I just kind of got to the point where I was kind of sick of having to do the 2-layer thing. I thought for a while that wearing a lighter jacket and armorizing it would have been better for me, and I was just starting to kind of come to the conclusion that that's not really what I wanted to do anymore. So a lot of my clubmates had the Superior Fencing Claymore jackets, which Paul Wagner, I believe, helped develop. And I was really interested by the concept of having the plastic plates in the chest of the jacket itself. The one thing that I didn't want was all of the skirt, because I felt that would get in the way for my typically kind of wider stance for using saber. And so I was actually about to go ping Farhan at Superior Fencing. I was about to go shoot him an email and be like, hey, could you like make a Claymore jacket but without the skirt? And then guess what? They had already started doing that. And so I ordered one from them, and here we are. When it comes down to it, this is a really nice jacket. I've got a lot of nice protection here from the plastic plates. They don't really limit any of my movement. I've got gusseted armpits, so I've got like pretty much full range of motion in my arms. I feel like I can reach across my body fairly easily. Especially for like those emergency parry ones, like oh shit kind of parries. My left hand can kind of hang out and do whatever it needs to. It can hand parry thrusts away. I can really easily put it onto somebody's guard or the stronger the weapon if they get too close and start moving into grips. All in all, like even bending over, like I can pretty much get to where not quite a 90-degree angle, but I can bend over pretty far, which, normally you wouldn't want to find yourself doing. But, you put something on the ground, you put your sword on the ground, you put some pair of gloves on the ground, you put your mask on the ground, and you find it difficult to reach over and grab it. You're not going to find it with this, and I think part of that reason is that there's actually a line here where the plastic plates are separated. So there's a seam here where you actually can get that sort of flex that's naturally there just because of that seam. So I really like that because with my AF ProFlex vest, I couldn't do that. Oftentimes I had to ask somebody to help me pick something up off of the ground. And I'm a fairly rotund guy. Like I have, I'm not shy to say that I've got a 46-inch waist, natural waist on a good day. And sometimes my weight fluctuates to being up to 50, just because of the way that my body does things. And so having no real way to bend that in the AF ProFlex vest was really a big problem. Here, I don't really find that at all. I could stoop over, find something, get it out of my gear bag, do all that just fine. The other thing that I really like is that I can reverse my shoulders really easily. There's an adjustment on the back of the jacket, along with some of the mesh, the cooling mesh that they use. And so I can use that to tighten up. But really, since I'm basically a square, at having this kind of square body, I already have this great ability to rotate my shoulders completely back and forth. and my hips can follow that too. And so that makes it really nice to catch some parries really close in. I can kind of like try and get my body out of the way of thrusts if I put out a really crappy parry. And again, I can get that left hand involved a lot, which is really great. Another thing that I like is that I occasionally do some silver style stuff. And so I can hang out in open fight pretty easily, no real problems. And I can do this just about all day. The left hand can be doing whatever, but this is nice and up. I don't really have an issue keeping this up. There is a little bit of an impingement, partially from the arm gear that I'm wearing, which didn't come with the jacket. This is my own. And to get it completely straight up and completely back on the body, or back behind the head, I kind of have to see where the plate actually allows for that. But I don't think that's not a jacket thing. That's just what I chose to mount on the jacket. If I take this off, getting this fully back behind the head is pretty fine. Some other things that I like about the jacket is that originally this jacket comes, I think, with the airflow mesh that SupFen has used a lot. They've used them for the forearms. They have it on the back, of course. Farhan said that being a heavy tournament jacket, they offered it with the airflows mesh stuff, but he recommended getting it in fabric. That's fine by me. I like having 800N rated stuff just because, you know, in case anything happens. I use fully enclosed arm protection most of the time, and when I don't, like when I'm doing lighter stuff, maybe with synthetic, it's nice to still have a little bit of that padding there. And so I chose to do that as opposed to the mesh stuff. Excuse me, in the past, I had a SupFen gambeson, and in the past I wasn't really able to use my gloves with my SupFen gambeson and arm protection because the forearms were weirdly cut. I don't really know how to describe it. I think they might have, just for the side, I ordered off the rack 2XL. I think there was just something weird in the cut for my arms. I'm not going to say that it was SupFen's fault. It might have just been the way that my body is. And so I couldn't really use my lighter fencing gloves with arm protection over the jacket. With this one I can. It's still a little snug. Of course, this is probably better for mitten style gauntlets. But, you know, I don't really need to use mittens. I have infinity gloves that I wear. When I use an open hilted saber, I wear one on my offhand most frequently. It slots right over nice. I have an attachment point for the elbow here. This elbow is more of a floating one. It's not permanently affixed through the tab, but it is there. The shoulders likewise are affixed through a tab that I can slot the Velcro through and affix. The other thing that I got for this jacket is I got some Velcro panels so I can wear my 1595 club patch. This one isn't doing anything currently. I still haven't really decided if I want to keep this upper arm plate. If I don't, I'm probably going to get a Lonin patch and put it right on here. I just use Velcro because it's easier than sewing for me because I'm lazy. Simple as that. One thing that I also like is that there's already a lot of padding on the upper arm. So I've taken some shots before I put the plates on here on the shoulder that didn't feel all that comfortable. You know, there's not a lot of padding up here, so I decided to put the shoulder plates on. I've taken some shots here because I got caught with my left hand out. And it's not really all that uncomfortable. Of course, if somebody's wailing on me, then we need to have a conversation about level of force. But this has always felt pretty comfortable here, taking shots. And likewise here, I really don't even feel anything. I hear the pop and go like, oh, okay, I've been touched. Yeah, so let's get to one thing that I find a little bit difficult with this jacket, and that's wearing a gorget. This might just be, I think this is because when I'm moving around and I have a mask on, if I'm wearing a gorget, it kind of will ride up into my neck. I typically use one of those DMZ style, like light gorgets. They have like the plastic piece. I actually didn't bring it with me today, ironically enough, because I'm not doing any sparring. Yeah, so it sometimes rides up. It's not a super bad thing. Oftentimes I just kind of seat my jacket back down on my shoulders and I pull down. I also try to make sure that I'm not doing any of this too much of this, because that definitely rides it up. And you can probably see in the camera right now that I've got it nice up into my chin. It's a consideration. I don't particularly find that it's annoying, yeah, but does it make it or break it for me? No. Gorgets are always going to have a tendency to ride up in jackets, I think. And maybe it's just because of the size that I am. I'm normally a 2XL. Yeah, probably just is what happens with me. Likewise, let's talk about the sizing. I got this custom sized. I fall roughly within the 2XL. This is the first custom sized jacket I've ever got. And I think that, you know, I'm very satisfied with Superior Fencing's level of attention when it comes to that kind of detail. Some of the Claymore jackets, I've gotten some feedback from clubmates that the stitching on the interior of their arms is really rough. I haven't really found it with this jacket at all, and I typically fence with just the tank top underneath. And so, you know, there's lots of bare skin in the arms. I also don't particularly feel the need to wear a chest protector because I've got these plastic plates. This is probably the most favorite part of the jacket, is that I can take super stiff thrusts. I can make a dumb decision and actually walk in on a thrust, which I do because I'm not the best fencer in the world. I can walk in on a thrust and I feel perfectly safe. I feel like, yeah, I made a mistake, but my equipment helped save me in that. There's also a lot of the more like incidental thrusts that just come through where, you know, somebody comes in opposition, hits me with a thrust, no problem, good amount of flex. I don't feel bad about that. I've even taken some stout cuts here to the chest, like cut 1 and cut 2, where up here on the shoulder it didn't feel all that great, but as soon as it got down, or if it impacted the chest specifically, it really didn't feel all that bad. I've got one guy I fence with who he has a really long cast steel basket hilt broadsword, and when I fence with him, in the past when I was using my AF kit, the coach's jacket and the ProFlex vest, I felt that despite having all of the protection, I felt that a lot of those cuts just from the weight of the weapon were still breaking through the plastic. Not actually breaking the plastic, but it was starting to feel like, wow, man, that's really uncomfortable. And now that I'm wearing this, probably because the plastic plates are larger and a little bit thicker, I feel that some of those cuts where, you know, I would go like, hey man, that's a lot of force, now kind of come down to like, oh, hey man, that's a lot of force, but don't worry, that didn't injure me. That kind of stuff. I think it's just a really good way to help maintain safety. Of course, there's a safety triangle. There's equipment, there's the person, and then there's the third part. Oh, Liam's gonna crap all over me for getting the third part. But having good safe equipment and a good safe training partner and making good decisions, which is the third part, all of those things included, there's really nothing I've taken in this vest, in this jacket that I felt has been, would make me consider wearing a different jacket. The only thing probably is hits to the shoulder, but even then, those feel pretty much like, ow, whatever. All in all, I'm really satisfied with this jacket. I definitely recommend it if you're doing single hand stuff and you're not too worried about getting clocked on the legs by a big longsword. Of course, if they catch you in the legs, then you have other things to worry about, but definitely highly recommend this for people doing single hand sword forms. Especially saber, backsword, maybe sword and buckler. Maybe this fits the niche for sword and buckler because I can hold this out here really nice. Have a lot of dexterity in the arm. Yeah, if you're doing longsword, you should probably get the Claymore jacket. There's a lot more contact that goes on with the legs there. I feel like that could be maybe a little bit more likely to like leave big bruises. And if that's something that you're worried about, get the Claymore jacket. But if you want a lighter-ish jacket that's a little bit more sleek and a little less everywhere, highly recommend the Superior Fencing Heavy Tournament Jacket. Thanks for watching. I know this is a pretty low production value review, but I wanted to make it. I reached out to Farhan and let him know that I was going to do a review. He said to just let him know before I drop it. I'm going to do that. Full disclosure, I order from Superior Fencing a lot. When I told them that I was planning on doing a review, they said that my next order I'm going to get a gift. I don't know what that gift is. I wanted to
put that full disclosure out there so that, you know, if you think that affects how I did this review, that's totally fine. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. But yeah, highly recommend this jacket. Go check out Superior Fencing. Farhan and the crew will take good care of you. Yeah, thanks for tuning in.